Hey Gabox here, let's talk about abilities for Madden going forward. I put out a tweet saying if you'd kindly help me for a video I'm doing, knowing that abilities aren't going anywhere next year, and they aren't. EA loves their abilities, and their fun is number one to them, as it should be, but right behind that should be balance, right? So hopefully abilities get balanced. We'll talk about that. Appreciate the 192 replies I got to it. I kind of consolidated. I'm Kraloing this shit. Consolidated some of it. I also went back and looked at some of my old files. I always typed through abilities. This is something I put together in Madden 17. I don't think I made a video based off this one, but remember when abilities were just a few of them? They've really expanded them hard to make these players feel special, so we've moved on. Here are some of mine from back in the day. We'll see some of them actually made the game, but other ones, maybe not. Break the pocket, regular sprint speed when scrambling for quarterbacks. We got Escape Artist, which is faster than scrambling sprint speed. Early in the year, we're 82 speeds, but now we got 99. It's pretty close to what they got. Always incomplete, always blue, always blue. If you are hit while throwing the ball, the animation will end up like Madden 16 and always be incomplete instead of fumbles. This is I wrote this in Madden 17, right? This is written in Madden 17, FYI. So in Madden 16. When you got hit, the ball always fell to the ground. It didn't actually go anywhere. So this would be an always incomplete. So kind of like the throw out, kind of like we already have an ability just like this this year last ditch. But that oftentimes throws up a lot of ducks, right? That get picked. But this one right to the ground, incomplete pass instead of a sack, right when you throw the button. So I don't know. It was kind of glitchy back then. So maybe glitchy. Throwbacks, a quote-unquote aggressive safety. Safeties play like Madden 15 where they kind of attack the box and the cover 4. They really play well. They patched a little bit of this in this year to play the run a little better in a cover 4. So a little bit more aggressive safety so they can't just throw streaks straight at their face. They play a little bit more smart, I guess, and hopefully can help you attack. So aggressive safety, I don't know, the smarts. There's a lot of smart ones here. I'll show it to you. You're a giant. Give a player the ability to fake an injury to get an extra timeout. I think this was in a Giants game. They faked an injury on the field. This is now you can't do it more than once, right? You actually get penalized for that now in today's NFL. But I think that was put into the game at some point. So I had some funny titles for some of these back in the day. I used to be a comedian. What the fuck happened to me? I'm such a fucking serious little bitch now. Mortal Kombat, spelt improperly so they don't get sued, allows players to input buttons for special celebrations. They did give us special celebrations now that we can just kind of move our thumbstick. But I want hidden combos. I don't know about this ability, but it'd be kind of cool in the game nonetheless. Madden 16 jukes, bring back the double juke. Bring it back. Especially because there's so many other great things right now. Maybe a Madden 18 spin. What about that? Would you guys hate that? I'd hate that. Where at least just fuck out people's users, drag it 6 people's into animation, you just spin all around them. That would be broken as fuck. At least Madden 16 double jukes weren't that broken, but they were very good. Let's go for ice cream is this one's titled. Force the opponent to use the passing cone from Madden 06. If you don't get it, the cone from Madden 06. So yeah. Basically, you put this on one of your defenders, and now they gotta move the cone back, and they're fucking terrible with it unless they have a pocket passer. Peyton Manning had that wide cone, and you could basically see the whole field anyways. Whereas if they use a scrambling quarterback, yeah, you're fucked. The superstar. When you player lock a player on defense, he has 99s in every stat. So the superstar ability, we've had a little bit of superstar hero action in the last few Madden. So you know what? Give them all 99s of the superstar. Unbent, unbowed, unbroken. Can't get hit sticked, tanked. They actually have that in the game now for tight ends only. Always lands a good hit stick animation and enforcer. So I had something a couple years ago, unbent, unbowed, unbroken. I prefer mine, but you might get sued by George R.R. Martin. So I guess you got to call it what you call it. Did you know Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard? You can see the defensive play art, which we have in the game currently as an X Factor, as Manning, or as the Manning's 100 X Factor and the regular X Factor. And then one for the defense called the Van Gogh, where you can see the offense's play art. So kind of similar. I don't like it. I actually really hate that. Fine. I guess it's an X Factor. It hasn't really meant a whole lot to the game because X Factors aren't as important as abilities, just like as I predicted. Mining in Yellowstone. RB can't be stripped. So no strip mining. No mining in Yellowstone. Strips aren't, on the running back doesn't fumble nearly as much as wide receivers. I see on kickoff a lot more, where the strip happens tons. So, an anti-strip one, right? Because there's an anti-hit stick one, anti-stripped one. Clutch kicking, we actually got this one. I want to go through the more kicking one I saw on the subreddit. Downfield blocker, a player that can actually pick up the right guy when blocking downfield. Like, the AI in Madden for years has been fucking terrible at blocking. Can you imagine how good the run game would be if we had good downfield blocking AI? I can't even imagine. Like, because, oh man, they'd have to actually fucking fix their game then on defense. Or otherwise it would be kind of like it is right now. Quick release, a QB that released the ball much faster. We ended up getting Gunslinger the next year, so that one kind of came into the game. So that one's already there. All right. Now on to like this year's suggestions, what I got from you guys when down here. Some of this mixed in with some of my thoughts and you kind of just like writing them down, giving my own thoughts, putting them down on paper. So abilities for next year, how to fix abilities, let's get into it. Do not use training as one of the ways to balance abilities as it does not work. This is something I thought of, like human joystick. One of their balances on human joystick is making it cost 5,000 training. People can afford that. That's not a way to balance an ability. Do not use that next year as the way to say, hey, this one's really good, right? Because people are like, oh, this is more expensive. It's really good, right? Like, so like, I think that's a horrible balance mechanism in MUT. Like more expensive cards, I guess they're balanced against like the way that they can produce. So that's the kind of thinking with abilities. I hate that thinking for abilities. I can see it with cards, but I don't like it with abilities. You understand what I'm saying? So please don't balance abilities based off cost. That doesn't do anything for the on-field gameplay. Sure, it may work a little bit in MUT, may keep them from getting a whole bunch of them, but they'll get them anyways. They'll find a way to afford it. Get rid of abilities, but keep X factors for the marketing. This was a very popular one. Well, not the second half. Get rid of abilities and X factors. People hate them. People want just straight Madden, one-on-one, go against each other. I told people it's not happening. EA loves their abilities. They love superstars playing like superstars. It's helping them market the game. So I said, hey, let's make a. Here it is. Here's a compromise. Get rid of the abilities, but keep the X factors. Then you can still market your bazooka. Remember this last off season? Everyone's like, oh my god, bazooka's gonna ruin the game. I can't believe it. This double me is the worst thing ever. And I'm sitting here like, you know what? Abilities are going to be the thing that... So, being ahead of the meta, once again, thinking, boys. All right, abilities, but instead of 3 players. All right, so this is kind of change the ability system. Allow you to have 9 total abilities, but you can put them on multiple players. Or go to a pool type way and give you a certain number of points like SC, and you can spend it however you want. So say you have 100 ability points. An escape artist would cost 40 of those ability points for your team. So then you can kind of go with the cheaper abilities and the more expensive abilities, kind of self-balance them out. And you can kind of do that and balance it around salary cap. Like, why is salary cap the only thing balancing around cost to get on your team? Because that's the way the mode works. But maybe MUT could do something similar with abilities. The problem with this is it would force them to change the way the game's coded, and that's hard, and they don't like to do hard things. So that's the only thing I see kind of keeping them back from doing this type of system, is that's actually going to take dedicated resources. They're going to have to they're going to throw like a business plan together for why this is better. So even though it's probably more balanced, even though it'll probably help the meta and keep it from like just being at the most powerful abilities on every single player, because we can all do it, I don't think it's going to happen. I just said it right there. Will be hard for EA to do. Pocket passers should have more ability slots than scramblers. I've said this for a while. I think that'll help balance out the two of them. Scramblers, I think somebody mentioned it and I wrote it down below. Scramblers should lose all Deadeye traits. If you get Escape Artist, you can't get a Deadeye. I think that's a fair balance to balance out mobility and accuracy. Galactus Destroyer of Worlds. Erase both teams' abilities and X factors from the game. They put in like Ray Lewis or Sean Taylor, some big hard-hitting dude that basically, changes the game. So not a bad idea if you want a pure gameplay. Just throw this on one of your players, and then boom, you're going one-on-one with another player. Obviously, I'm not sure EA would love to have another player affected like that by their opponent, but I think it'd still be kind of a blast to kind of get an abilityless Madden at least next year. I'm sure a lot of people would run that actually. So maybe EA would hate that because that wouldn't sell their game at all. Archetypes are an issue that a lot of people brought up in that comment section. If someone gets a stat, why can't they just get the ability to go along with that stat? It makes sense to me. Archetypes themselves are kind of strange, right? Like, I think once you hit your 82 speed, you should be able to get that Escape Artist. Maybe not, maybe so. Balance purposes, like being able to get Escape Artist and Hot Route Master, that'd be kind of wild, but that only happened until late game cards anyways, and by this time the game's already broken 6 ways since Monday. So I don't mind it. Now, another person said, I had a couple people in the comments saying this and agreeing with this, like, hey, why don't you just automatically give them the ability once they hit that stat threshold? And I don't love that, because then everybody would just have the same abilities going against each other constantly over and over. And like, oh, let's just bring it back to stats. Like, that completely defeats the whole point of abilities of players standing out if every player then plays the same, right? Isn't that the whole point of abilities, to make players stand out? So that's like totally... conceptually, I can see people thinking that's okay, but that's totally against the reason why abilities are in the game. So EA is definitely not going to do that. Should abilities come stock? Oh, that's literally the next sentence. Okay. Abilities definitely need to be balanced, i.e. juking into a hit stick needs to cause fumble at a high rate. So there are some abilities that don't really have a downside. Like, you know, those post flag elites, if you throw a corner route on the run, like if it gets intercepted, if it gets undercut and intercepted, most of the time that guy's flying out of bounds, right? There's so little downside to throwing those corner routes because of how powerful they are, because you're scrambling out. The cloud flat runs to the quarterback for some goddamn reason. I don't know why. But there should be some sort of downside to a lot of these things and some sort of counter to every single ability. This is mentioned below, somewhere else here. Oh yeah, here it is. True counters to abilities. Universal coverage doesn't stop corner routes. Outside stuff doesn't stop stretch. So it doesn't do what it needs to do and stop the thing it wants to stop. So like a more pure counter ability to help fix the game, I guess. A lot of players I saw in the comments mention things that are just straight up gameplay imbalances, and they're kind of coding like the EA developers code, where they say, hey, there's a gameplay problem, let's just fucking throw an ability on it, see if that fixes it. And I don't like that way of coding mismatches, and get like, if an ability's broken, then countering it with another ability is fine. But if something in the gameplay is broken, remember like Madden 18 where we had broken spins, they brought in an unfakeable to help stop that spin from happening. And it's like, well, can't you just like, you know, patch it in a more smart way, which they ended up doing a little bit down the line once they realized unfakeable wasn't doing it. So like a lot of the people in the comments were doing the same thing. It's easy to fall into that trap of like saying, oh, there's an imbalance in the game, just throw an ability on top of it and that'll solve it. I hate it, but I think abilities do need to hard counter other abilities. All right. The ability to bring back the tackle cone, something where you can strafe up and actually tackle somebody like in the old days. It's not a bad idea. I mean, for only a couple players having it, we have secure tackler now. We have enforcer where people just click off. So having the tackle cone back, it's technically more skillful than just clicking off with enforcers. So I don't mind the tackle cone coming back. You know, I didn't really exactly love it, but you know, it is what it is. That's because back then also, you have to remember, it was a little easier to like it was a little bit more players were like human joystick back in the day. So the tackle cone kind of needed to come in here to help you bring them down, because otherwise it was so hard to tackle players back then. So maybe bring back the tackle cone if we're going to keep human joystick in the game, if we're going to keep giving that kind of stuff to players. Human joystick on defense would be kind of cool too. Take that away. Oh yeah, I read that one. Change abilities at halftime. Some people said, hey, let me put on like 6 different players with abilities and allow me to adjust my team at halftime. I, for one, don't like it, right? That allows you to unfairly target passers to runners to, you know, kind of switch it up and not have to pass it off. They feel like they can just dominate there. Like I don't like it. I think it's fine countering players coming in the game. That way you just can't like get don't have all of it. I mean, it makes sense that like coaches would adjust at halftime, but I, for one, am against this suggestion because I feel like it could be more degenerative than helpful. Go into a game, play, and execute your game plan. And you can only target so many things at once instead of being basically, you know, having these, I would say abilities kind of like cover your ass in all situations. Route abilities on CBs like wide receivers, so they play corners and posts. Amazing. Some say, yeah, corner post ability. It's another thing that kind of stops overpowered mechanics in the game, but it's not a bad idea. It goes along with something. This one right here where it says mental smarts, where you can guess a route pre-play and have the players play it. I prefer this one over something like this, right? This route abilities, this is just kind of there to stop overpowered routes. Whereas back in the day, this is my edition, the old highlight, we used to have a highlight wide receiver function where the defense would like pay certain attention or more attention to a certain wide receiver. It ended up getting broke after a few years and they took it out of the game because it is essentially useless. Is it out of the game? I just haven't seen it in a few years. I guess I don't know if it's out of the game because I literally haven't used it in 3 years because it was broken. I think it broke by Madden 16-ish. I think it broke by 15. Somewhere in there, it got broken. And it was useless. But, So like something like a Tecmo Super Bowl style mental smarts, you can guess a route pre-play and that player will play it perfectly. Sure, it adds more counterplay. It won't allow him to spam that one play over and over. But like as we've seen, like you could set up your defense perfectly, stop a corner route, and it can still get through there on the rollout corner route. So there's some good shit there. There's some bad shit. I don't know. Just allowing us to put zones on the field that stop this stuff is much better than having to like guess pre-play for that certain route. Because if we just have a zone that we know will cover it, that should take care of it rather than an ability. More risk-reward function, like a pass rusher is more liable to jump off sides on a fake snap. You know, not a bad idea for risk-reward, although I bet you people with pass rushing abilities would hate this. It would get very annoying using it, just like we had pass rush aggressive. There's no way of really turning off your ability, so you'd have to like take him off the field or use him in a different situation. So more risk-reward is always, it's a great thought. That specific solution isn't the most ideal. If like pass rush abilities got fucked up hard on halfback draws or screens, that would be my more risk reward, right? If there's something that was used in the NFL to kind of fight those things, would also work in game, whereas draws and screens just aren't good this year, then I could see that being a little bit better for the risk reward type of thought process. I don't know why I did this. I don't know why, because I got stuff in my eyes. I don't know. Never stumble. They took that out of the game. They just brought back stumbles this year, so maybe bring back never stumble going forward. Somebody suggested sure-footed, where you can't stumble. I don't know. I hate that shit where you run into your old lineman and just kind of like the defense freaks out, flips out, forget they're playing football, and then kind of just goes on and keeps playing, and you just run for a touchdown. Yeah, so I hate it. I hate them both. Anything to destroy the runners is good for me. Perfect pursuit angles. I think 99 pursuit should just play perfectly, but something that makes, you have 99 speed, Troy Polamalu hunt down the running back, I believe the person said, and dominate them would be kind of cool. But it depends also on what kind of zone they're in. If he's in a deep half, then you really don't want him pursuing a running back. But like, obviously the computer knows what plays are being called, so it could tell you, so if you have perfect pursuit angles, it could literally be psychic, and even in cover 2 deep zone, they could play the run. Yes, a little bit busted, and that's what abilities are, a little bit busted. Would it be overpowered? Potentially, but not nearly as overpowered as some stuff we have now. So I would not hate that. I don't know if we'll see how they'd put it into effect, but I'm fine putting it in the game. Perfect pursuit angles, because pursuit is so bad right now. Better releases besides Gunslinger. A lot of people don't like the lower trajectory of Gunslinger. I think quarterbacks in the game flat out should just have better releases. I think under pressure they need to get the ball out quick. Chop block ability to always take out a defender for a fullback. This person wanted on runs. We already see it on passes where you can chop rushers off the edge. You see your running back do it a lot. So I have an ability to allow that fullback to take out one player. Like we have nasty streak right now where we used to be able to put a tackle out at tight end, motion him out, and take out 2 players. Having a blocker eliminate 1 player isn't nearly as overpowered. So I don't mind that at all. The chop block ability, it's just having to find the right player to chop block is oftentimes the fullback's problem. Tight ends that get a boost to pass block and run block. That's a fairly fine ability in my opinion. The only issue is I can see like fucking runners. Goddamn fucking runners. Anything that boosts run block right now, I'm so against. I do not want a running game next year. I want a balanced game. True counters to abilities. Universal coverage doesn't stop corner. Oh, yeah, I did that one. Clutch ability for the Brady type, so they get a boost to stat to them maybe themselves. Like this is like the trait, right? We have a clutch trait in game, a boost to themselves, linemen, wide receivers out there. A break sack ability for heavy blitzes. Like we have the agile and anchored extender to break off DBs, but something to balance out the blitz 7 meta, whether in 3-4, whether in nickel, whether in big dime 1-4-6 or whatever. Something to break those heavy blitzes, right? When they send 7, you just kind of shred them off easily, and you break the sacks of it. Some way of countering those blitz everything abilities, so to have an ability to counter that. Because right now, their O-line AI is just not good enough. The blocking AI lets guys run right past them, and it is frustrating as fuck. Matchup nightmare and pass rushing abilities need to go. That was a concern that I saw in the comments too. Some of them are just way too overpowered. Just shouldn't be in the game flat out. Passing is super hard. Like playing Madden 16 and playing Madden 20, the way players can react to the ball in Madden 20, the speed of the user, it's insane right now. Between pass rush zones, everything's so wild and so stacked against passers. It's crazy. Like it is absolutely fucking insane. Something on offense to counter enforcer, basically make tank work. I've seen my tanked out tight ends get hit stick by enforcer still, so that one's I know broken. A goal line back, an ability to jump the pile at the goal line like the Jimmy jump. How would you make that balance? Would you allow the defender to kind of jump back with their middle linebacker? That would be the natural counter, some sort of timing mechanism, but bring back kind of like an ability, a Jimmy jump ability, because that Jimmy jump was fun as fuck. But some way of the defensive meeting them on the pile and stopping them, because abilities need counters, right? I just don't want it to be like a counter to that ability, because that one's just so specific. A defense to run that very specific ability to counter that Jimmy jump, it would be too much. There needs to be like universal stoppers that are powerful, but like if it targets an ability and the offense generally won't be running that ability, I think that's a bad way of balancing it out. You know what I mean? Like it can't be so specific that it doesn't really play much, or else there's there needs to be some way of other balancing that besides for just lowering, like just for having the low training cost on it, because you're still using an ability slot to do the counter to the Jimmy jump. And you won't see that many Jimmy jumps because not many people would run that ability. So some other way of the defense countering it just naturally without an ability needed. High heart, motor ability. Again, a trait that doesn't seem to be paying off. Like you won't see them standing around at kickoffs or during plays. So often, like you'll run down the field and like half your team, your wide receiver just kind of like jogging, looking aimlessly, doing nothing. You see your team on punt returns, kick returns. They're not doing anything. They get in your way on those things. So another ability kind of help patch their game, and I just want them to patch it out. I don't want this, like, having a high heart, high motor ability is great, but just keep it as a trait and just actually make your football players play football. D-line stunt ability. I think they took D-line stunts out years ago because of like nanos and shit. But yeah, D-line stunts at some point, maybe not next year, but at some point D-line stunts, because they're part of the NFL, they should come into Madden, and they should be recognized by the O-line too. Okay, a few left. Contain specialists to keep QBs in the pocket for good, and contain specialists elite for them to make sure stretch plays cut back in if they're the force defender. Easy. Love this ability. Needs to happen. If I put a contain on, I don't care if you go inside or outside of me, your quarterback should not escape the pocket at all. Never. Right? Regular contains should just do that. Whereas contains on blitzes because they're broken, I don't know how they fix those. They got to make them dumb. They got to make them fall over or some shit. They got to make blitz 7 not the meta. QB frozen stare, make the user defenders slower. Interesting suggestion. I don't like affecting users like that. I don't like affecting the defenders' players like that, but it is a very interesting concept for a lot of like the QB stare one way, throw the ball the other, kind of like that crossbody stuff that we have right now, but basically to make the defense react a little bit later than they would. Not a bad idea for like a pocket passer to make the wild zones out there not as wild. Ball carrier vision for offline games shows holes that open like the QB vision does for the wide receivers. I don't hate it. More offline abilities like a rewind feature like the old Madden had, and then slow down like kind of like a Max Payne time when you're in the pocket for offline stuff. Obviously not able to do that online, but like a slow time, like a what the hell bullet time they called it in Max Payne would be awesome. Back shoulder pass ability and the pursuit ability for D linemen that once they get an escape artist quarterback, they cancel out the escape artist so they actually can make a tackle. There it is. Those are the abilities, potential abilities for next year. How we want to fix abilities. Some crazy ones, some wild ones. But I really appreciate everybody helping me out, sending in their comments and ideas for abilities going into next year. I really hope the most important thing is that we have a balanced game next year. Fun. Madden is fun. Madden will stay fun when it's balanced, right? Madden can be fun originally, but if it's not balanced, it ends up losing its fun very quickly. All right, thanks for watching Call to Action. I'll see you tomorrow.